Hey guys, John here. I'm here at 42 Gear Street in Germany having a great time. And I'm sitting here with Jim from Digitech. It's
Good to
been
meet
so
you.
nice to meet you.
Yeah.
And what I'd love to do with you today is talk a little bit about the history of my favorite pedal, the Whammy pedal. It's such a cool pedal. And of course, it has gone through many changes throughout the years, and many famous artists have
Yep.
used the pedal.
Yep.
So perhaps we can do like a little bit of a history lesson on the pedal, but let's start by talking a little bit about you. Can you tell us a
Okay.
little bit about
Sure.
yourself and your position in Digitech and your history with the company?
Yeah. I started with Digitech right when Digitech started. Originally DoD Electronics, and then Digitech was launched as a separate brand to focus on the up-and-coming digital revolution, essentially, right? So we launched a separate brand. And I started in '86, and I was fresh out of college, and digital was brand new. This is a good couple of years before CDs really hit the market. It was early days of low-cost digital audio, and I was hired on to help figure all that out. So in college, I had fair amount, I've always been an audio guy all the way on back. I've been in bands and stuff back high school, college on, and then I got a chance to jump on board with Digitech, and it was like, oh, this is going to be fun. And so it's been, it's been a wonderful career. And so I'll give a quick synopsis. 85 all the way through 2018. During that time, we started as we're based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. It was originally a privately held company. John Johnson, David DeFrancesco. That's where DOD comes from, by the way. And then, as you know, one of the things that happens is you're doing good and you're growing. People want to buy the company. And so the company was sold off. One of the two investors sold half of it to some private investors. That lasted for about a year. And then they sold it off to Harman. So Harman, from Harman Kardon originally, but Sidney Harman had a corporation he was running, conglomerate of audio companies. But that was a big transition for us because we went from private company to public company. I'm only giving this because it is relevant to multiple generations of Whammy. So as part of Harman, public companies are kind of focused a little bit more on short term, not necessarily, but can be. And so that went on for until 2016, I think, when Samsung bought Harman.
Okay.
Which is pretty funny. For me personally, got my first gig right out of college with a tiny little company where we could all play hacky sack together around at lunchtime, all the way to Samsung, which is like third largest corporation in the world. And I never changed jobs. It just changed underneath me.
Yeah.
So it's been a fun ride. Then in 2018, Samsung decided to kind of consolidate all of the Harman Pro stuff and shut down the Salt Lake facility and a bunch of other facilities for Soundcraft and Crown and all of these other Harman brands. And at that point, I better look for a job. And so I did consulting. I know a lot of different companies in the MI industry, so I helped out with various projects for other companies. And then, out of the blue, I got a call from the VP of engineering for Harman. And it's, Jim, I can't tell you anything. But a brand you may or may not know may or may not be part of Harman sometime soon.
Oh.
And he didn't need to say anything more. It's like, Okay, your son says, but I can't tell you who. And the only reason I'm calling is I gave them your name. They can tell you anything they want, but I can't tell you anything. So the next day I got a call from June Park. This is of Court Guitars. And they were the ones that purchased all rights and current production and everything to Digitech and DoD. And of course the spin-off brands that Digitech had done, which is Johnson Amps and Hardwire and Vocalist and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm only saying this because there was a rebirth, and this is all going to be part of Whammy, and we'll talk about it in a minute. And that's, so from 2018 to 22, no new Digitech products, no new DoD products, as the engineering team was let go. Now we got to start again. And, so we're 2 years into it. We're 2 years into the new rebirth of Digitech, and I'm getting the band back together, you know. So June Park, you know, kind of had a vision of, I just want to get the team back, and can you help me? And I said, oh yeah, I can help you with that. And so anyway, I've got the beginnings of a team, and we're growing, and I just barely added a mechanical engineer. So a lot of the industrial design from Digitech that goes all the way back, now he's back on board. Anyway, so all of this is to tell you that there is more Whammy coming, and I'm working on brand new platforms over time. But anyway, that's a long way to say history of where I fit.
Yeah.
But it's all relevant to Whammy starting in 89 or 90. I think it was 89.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. And all the way through, we just launched a Mononeon version of Whammy less than a year ago. So
I did a video on that with Mendel, by the way, which you can also see on the channel either before or after this video gets released. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
That was cool to see because Mendel hadn't used it.
Yeah.
And as a designer, the coolest thing is seeing an artist find something musical.
Yeah.
Not just, oh, I play it, but and you'll see it in that video. There's a couple of wait a minute, do that again. You know, those sort of moments. That means a lot. Means a lot to me.
Awesome.
So
regarding the company, it's just cool to see from my perspective, and I think for the rest of the Digitech fans, that there is somebody like you who has been there from, you know, the start.
Early days.
Yeah, and then all the way up to now. Because sometimes, you know, you see the companies where all the people change and everything changes, but there's still, you know, the heart of the Digitech company is still here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that is really cool.
And it's not just me. Roger Johnson goes all the way back to, and I just mentioned my mechanical designer, but then we got a bunch of new guys too. So I'm trying to make a mix of a team that has enough of the old DNA to capture that for the brand, but enough new blood that I got other guys right out of college just starting, and it's their job to take it to the next 50 years, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. So let's get to the Whammy stuff. So how did that whole thing come about? Who came up with the idea, and what was the initial idea behind it?
John Johnson. And it's really interesting. So that same time, and our engineering department was only like 5 people back then total for all of, and one of them's a owner of the company. So I was busy working on multi-effects. This is the DSP 128 rack mount, first kind of multi-effects, and coding up all kinds of new DSP things. And I actually did a pitch shifter for the DSP 256, I think. There's so many algorithms over the years, I can't remember. And pitch shifters are hard because you have to jump back in time or forward in time if you're pitch shifting down. And you have to splice it just right, and you want low latency, and it's not a just crank it out and go. A chorus, kind of crank it out and go. That's pretty easy. Delay, very easy. Reverbs, that's a whole other subject we could get into sometime. I've done a lot of reverbs. But the pitch shifting, we had touched on some stuff. And John Johnson walked into my office and he says, "So, you know a whammy bar, right, Jim?" Yeah. It's like, well, could we do that electronically? and I remember kind of saying, yeah, I think you can, but it's a tough problem. I'm not sure we have enough DSP, digital signal processing power, to do a good job, but you could do something. And he says, "You want to take it on?" It's like, "John, you got me on 6 other projects right now. I don't think I can." So I actually had the opportunity to be the original whammy guy when we first started this project, but I was too busy on other things. So I am not the designer of the original whammy. But one of the things we did back then, and I know some of the viewers would know this, is we did products with a company named IVL.
Yes.
Yeah, IVL is a group out of Canada. They're still around. Brian Gibson, I talk to him all the time. A growing group, and there's a storied history of all of the people there. That's its own story we could talk about sometime. But they were doing pitch recognition stuff. So we were doing kind of pitch to MIDI type products back then, and that was IVL's thing. And so John took it to Brian Gibson and said, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And Brian goes, "Well, I think I could." So they took it on, and that first whammy was Brian Gibson and a team of a couple other people. And it's hard to think about this now, but the early days of whammy, the only other pedals that really had an expression pedal on it was a wah pedal. So people didn't have a sense of, other than a volume, wah and a volume, and that's it. And so, Brian Gibson, the original design with the expression pedal and switch to turn it on and off, people were expecting it to sound like a wah. And so when we took it to the first show, I think I was doing the DSP 256 at the time. Anyway, I saw Brian's design. I instantly loved design. That's cool. But people didn't get it. People did, at first it was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. Show me the multi-effects. And so it only got, you look at it, because we did newsletters back then, and it's interesting to see a legendary pedal now. Its launch was kind of subdued. It was like, yeah, let's go try this. And it wasn't the mainstream stuff was multi-effects and rack processors. And, oh yeah, there's this little pedal that does pitch shifting. But it took about a year, a year. And it was really there's a lot of people could argue what was the first. In fact, I talked to Doug Wimbish, who had a prototype from Brian Gibson about 3 months before the product premiered, and he did a recording studio. He was in a recording studio doing an Annie Lennox album, and he says, "I think I'm the first guy to put whammy down on a recording."
Oh, cool.
So that's cool. I didn't know that story. So the original one, 1989, took it about a year to really take off. I mean, it sold okay, kind of sold in, but it really, I credit Steve Vai as being the first guy to let everybody know what's possible with it.
Was that during the time of the Sex and Religion album or something?
I think it would be about that. It was mostly his live shows that I knew him from, so.
Like, I don't think I know any songs on Passion and Warfare.
Yeah.
Because I think he used that other harmonizer there, the rag one. I'm not really familiar with those.
Yeah.
But he used a couple songs where he had like pitch delays and stuff. But I until Sex and Religion, that's, I think, the first record where you can really hear like that classic whammy, I think 1 octave or 2 octaves up mode. So he was the first to really bring it to the...
In my mind, I think that could be debated.
Yeah.
Because I'm not in tune with who, what, where. There might have been somebody else that was just a little bit before, but right about then. So, in fact, when we did Whammy IV, we did a special run of Chrome versions, and the first 10 Chrome versions were going to go out to the 10 who we thought, it's like, who's going to get number one? And it was Steve Vai.
Oh, that's so cool. I have one of those. When people see the video, they'll get to see images of I'll shoot all my whammies so that they get an idea of how they all look. But the original one is so cool. It's so charming. It's very compact.
It's small. Yeah.
It's sturdy. It looks sturdy. And of course, it was used by so many artists around that time. Let's say Steve Vai, Satriani, Tom Morello, obviously, Dimebag Darrell, Joe Perry. I think what's that album called? Their album from the early '90s with "Living on the Edge" and stuff. I think that's a song where he used it on. People like that.
Even Peter Frampton. It goes fairly wide. And then actually a lot of country guys, because it could do a pedal steel type sound. So you think of Whammy as being heavy rock, but no, there's a good country influence of early adopters for getting, now I can do that pedal steel standing up with my regular guitar. So
nice.
Yeah.
So for how many years did you guys make? 3 years, 4 years?
It was about 3 years, and that second Whammy that came out, maybe 3.5 years.
Yeah.
That second Whammy came out because people were asking about being able to change presets. Instead of the big dial, they wanted to be able to get to more sounds, and so Brian added an up down, and he kind of took the look of some of our multi-effects at the time, the switches we were using. So it was less of a standout and a little bit more worked with our other pedals.
Yeah.
And people see that as a negative, and I can kind of see why, because you got to let each pedal be where it is. Don't force it into using this switch because something else did. And but the pitch shifting in it was every year of Whammy kind of stands on its own. You can't really reissue something because digital technology was changing so quickly back then that the level of quality from A to D converters, D to A converters, so those old ones, they're noisy. People don't get it because it's the quietest. People get it because of the quirks that it had a certain sound.
Yeah.
But if you tried to do it, well, guess what? They don't make those converters anymore because there was a better one. Well, better one, you say better, but it's going to sound a little different. The latency's slightly different in it, and so.
I think the options for the harmonies are a little bit different, if I recall correctly.
They've all evolved, and there's a million people calling saying, "Oh, you need to do this. How come you didn't do because you really should have maybe 50 selections to get everything.
Yeah.
But we wanted to keep it simple, and I think it's 16 selections on that original.
And there's a little volume pot or gain pot on the back. Is that correct? I remember that.
Yep, that was added.
There's some stuff on the forums that people say, the Whammy II does have the IVL chip.
It does.
So it's technically the same algorithm, I guess?
It's the same chip, but just because you see the same DSP chip in it doesn't mean you can't rewrite the code to make it a little bit better, right? I mean, as some of the quirks that people like about it, as somebody trying for the quest of doing pure pitch shifting, you're trying to get rid of some of those, right? You kind of, and it doesn't mean that you don't, they're not there too, but you're trying to, it's like, it does this weird little hiccup, which sounds musical, but you don't design that in. That's an artifact that you try.
The warble.
That's right, the warble sound, and it was tracking just single notes. As soon as you gave it any kind of a chord, that's much harder to figure out how to splice, and so there wasn't enough DSP horsepower to do a good job. Turns out that's a good thing. Just like when somebody designed the original spring reverb, it wasn't to sound like a spring reverb, it was to sound like a room. And it didn't sound like a room, but all of a sudden it becomes its own effect, and music has got lots of those kind of happy accident sort of things in it, and Whammy's one of them. So that second generation hit about 3.5 years later, and that one went on for probably, so that Whammy II probably went for 5 years, 6 years. You know, historians are gonna go, no, it was 7.5, and okay, sorry, I don't keep track of it that closely.
Do you think that around that time already people were gravitating back towards the original one? Because you don't see the two that often. You see it, you can buy them, but
it wasn't red.
Ah, yeah, okay.
It wasn't red, and actually, there's a story, and I said this the other day. The story behind a Whammy being red goes back to John Johnson, the president of Digitech, and he had a red Ferrari, and it was that red, and it was like. Yeah, because he believed in this product. This is going to be a revolutionary product. This can go way beyond what a whammy bar can do. This is a whammy pedal. And it's going to be, in fact, it's going to be red like my Ferrari.
Yeah.
So it is Ferrari red.
And then we also got the Bass Whammy. Was that something that came out after, or?
Yeah, it came out just barely after, and I'm not exactly sure of the timing when that came out. But a bass guitar is even harder because with a low note, you got to find that splice point quicker because the frequency is so low. You don't get as many points to look at, right? So bass products, to get a bass product to work, you tended to need a little bit more latency to capture it. And so Brian tweaked out a version that was specifically for bass, and that didn't sell all that well. There's not too many bass players doing standout stuff back then.
Yeah.
And so it sold okay.
I think one of the most well-known players who used that Whammy is the guy from Tool. The bass player from Tool. And
that's much later, right?
Oh,
so
cool.
that, his Tool was, it kind of hit a little bit later than that. So we've always had a bass, from that point on, we've always had a bass Whammy.
I imported mine from Japan because it was really hard to find, but I have it in mint condition with the box and everything. I think it's a really cool little piece, you know?
That's nice.
So how did we go from there to the XP100?
See, and that's a very interesting part of the story too, because first 2 generations, Brian Gibson and crew. That 3rd generation was back in Salt Lake, and that was my crew. So the Salt Lake team took on the XP series. So XP100 is the Whammy Wah. We wanted to add a wah at the same time as a whammy, kind of being, remember, this is days of multi-effects. Everybody wanted a single pedal that does lots of stuff. So we took that on, and a whole different DSP, and we were starting to do our own DSPs at that time, but also we used some off the shelf. The DSP in that, if anybody looks, is an extremely rare one. It's Texas Instruments. If you look at it, it's Texas Instruments, but if you called Texas Instruments at the time, they didn't know they had it. It was actually Texas Instruments out of Japan, and it was a DSP written for car stereos. But we found it because it had a really good external memory interface. I know this is geeky, but the things that you look for to do a good pitch shifter, you need longer memory and you need quick access to it. That's reverbs and pitch shifters. And this XP series was going to be 3 pedals. This is John Johnson saying, hey, got to have a next generation whammy. And let's add a wah to it, so it's a whammy and a wah. That way nobody needs a wah, they just want one expression pedal on stage. And then we need a modulation pedal, and we need a reverb pedal. So that was the thing. And then, if you know, we also got the XP300, which is the space station.
Yeah.
And that was me going back to John. So John was kind of steering the ship of this product and this product, and who's doing what. And I wanted to do something wacky. So it was, John, if I give you those other 4, can I do something weird? And he says, you give me those others and you can do anything you want. So the XP300 is that same platform, but that's all the wacky weird ideas in
We could do like a whole separate video on that.
Yeah.
But that's a really cool product that I've yet to actually try for myself. But one day I will find one for an acceptable price, maybe.
Yeah.
So, is it fair to say that the jump in sound is a large one because of the IVL chip that wasn't available anymore, or how does because
IVL, that chip went out of production, and you know, the things that we were having IVL do were all in the vocal realm. We were launching vocalist, and so having them do a guitar pedal, it's like, you know what, Salt Lake team should do that one. So it kind of jumped back to us, and we know the algorithms that Brian was using, and we talked about it, but we had to do our own, so we did our own, and so it will sound different.
Yeah,
and people love to talk about the original Whammy, but I think different bands found different things. There's people that swear by each generation of Whammy. So
yeah, I mean the XP100, Korn is known for using those and swearing by them.
Yep.
And I think John Scofield is known for using that one.
Yeah.
I think. So it has a legend of its own, and that's cool. So how many years did it take to go from there to the reissue? I think that's the next one, right?
I'll bet you that was probably 6 or even 8 years. That could have been.
Yeah. Because
it went for a while before we went back to the reissue, and music ebbs and flows, you know. Yeah. It's easy to look back now and go, well, why didn't you just focus on that? It's like, well, music reinvents itself every few years, and that's cool. And Whammy was cool, and it wasn't not cool, but it wasn't the main focus at the time. And we were into doing tube amp design, you know, GSP 2101 and multi-effects, and a standalone pitch shifter was cool, but it wasn't the main focus, because we were really, I think, helping push the industry into this whole, what is now very common, multi-effects, but it was fledgling back then, and that's where the focus was.
Yeah.
And so Whammy for a few years didn't get as much focus. So that XP300 should have been redesigned earlier, but we just didn't have enough engineering to do everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so finally it's like, okay, we got to do the Whammy right. Let's go back to, I mean, the XP300 is red, but it's not Ferrari red. We went back to, so fourth generation went back to the original color, much more of the look of the original. It is different, but kind of in that same style as the original Whammy. And yet another, and I think the Whammy IV was a quantum leap in processing power. You know, enough time had gone by. The chips that it's designed around had a lot more capability, so it was a lot smoother. You know, all the things, it was less jumpy and quirky and all of that. So it wasn't polyphonic yet. It was still single note.
Yeah.
But it was better at it, and it was lowest latency. It was a leap back. The XP300 isn't quite as short a latency. So Whammy IV, and that did really well. That was the right pedal at the right time, and that reignited the love for Whammy in the industry and all of that. And so that had a nice long run.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably, aside from the 5, that's the one that you'll still see on many pedal boards. And I think many of the viewers will have at least owned one of those. I've owned like 3, probably.
Yeah, there's a lot.
It does the warble thing. People sometimes complain with that pedal about the bypass, the tone suck, as they say. But that's like the nerds.
That's a separate debate we should have. We should have that debate. That's, you know, I understand what they're saying. It did not have a true bypass like 5th generation has. And a Whammy is a pedal that lives up front, and the closer you are to the guitar, the more that stuff is important. So they're correct. But it's only a tone suck for certain types of downstream pedals, not everything. The reason why it's a debate is because it does one thing, you know, yes, it doesn't, true bypass doesn't add any circuitry, but it adds capacitance. You can't not add capacitance. A relay has got, you know, so it's not all positives. There's a little bit of negatives, and that's good, strong debate to be talked about.
Yeah. In the mid 90s, one of my favorite, I told you this in the car just now, one of my favorite Whammy solos is from Devil's Dance from Metallica.
Oh, yeah.
It might have been then the original Whammy that Kirk used. I'm not sure because, you know, who knows what they used in the studio.
I'm not sure, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's like a really cool solo that's really recognizable for me, and a really cool way to use the Whammy to make the guitar really scream.
Yeah.
And to do some things that go outside of the laws of physics, you know, stuff that you can't physically do with the normal tremolo or...
Yeah, you can't loosen your strings enough to actually go down an octave. Just try it. You know, it is flubby. It's like you can't get there in a physical sense. So it does open up, which is, and we should talk about this for a second, is what makes, one of the things that I think makes the Whammy enduring, I guess, is that it's as much about playing style. With most effects, you turn them on and you get a tone or you get an effect, but there's only a few that enter your playing style. And Whammy is one of them, that once you've worked your playing style around it, you can't not have one. A wah is like that, a Whammy is like that. I guess a talk box would be like that. You know, there's certain ones that become part of your playing style. And so that's, you know, to do an effect that becomes part of your playing style, that's expressive. That's what, you know, that's what it's all about. That's what makes something musical.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why I love it so much.
yeah, it's fun.
So we're on the 4 now, and then I think the next one would be the Chrome limited edition.
Yeah, and that was part of, actually, so you mentioned you had one of the Chrome ones. We actually did, when we launched the original 4th generation Whammy, we did 10 Chrome ones and send them out to artists. It wasn't available to the public, and it was hand signed by the team and all numbered and hand signed. And there's only 10 of those. I don't know where those are now. I mean, actually, I do know where a couple of them are because I still have them. Because there was some artists we were trying to get a hold of and never got a hold of. But after that, a couple of years after that, we did the Chrome Whammy for the masses, and we did a run of Chrome Whammys for everybody. So yeah, that would be the next generation.
The numbered ones.
Yeah.
I don't know which number mine is, but I'm just very happy to have one. It's a really cool.
But unit. The original 10, if you got a 1 to 10, that and I probably still, I'm a pack rat, which and what I mean by that is projects I've worked on, I save all paperwork and little folders, and so I've got schematics and all kinds of artifacts of all this. If anybody ever wanted to do a book, I've got all kinds of cool little things like that wouldn't be. But what I was thinking of is our handwritten list of 1 to 10, and it's like, you don't want to number them, because who am I to say that somebody is more important than somebody else? We were trying, anyway, we came up with this list, and that went out to those artists. And I'm sure some of those artists still have those, and other artists passed them along. So so maybe your readers could, your listeners could see if they've ever seen a 1 to 10.
Let us know.
And if you do, I'll see if I can dig up that old list, and we'll figure out who we send it to.
That's cool. That's really cool. All right, so now we're making a jump to, is it correct that the DT is the next one, the Whammy DT, or did the 5 come before?
They're at the same time, and I think we launched the DT first, but it was the same crew, same circuit, and both were being developed at exactly the same time.
Yeah.
And have the same code in it. It's really just the DT adds all of the detune pieces to it. And
of course, it only has the chords mode.
Yeah.
Because when the 5 came out, I remember being relieved, like, oh, luckily they're also doing a version with the classic mode.
That's
because
right.
that's like the charming thing that we,
Yeah.
or most people love. A lot of people were really happy as well. Like,
Yeah.
finally it's polyphonic.
Yeah.
But it's cool that the Whammy 5, which is the one that I mostly recommend to people,
Yep.
has that classic mode.
Yep. That's what I would tell everybody too. Whammy 5.
Yeah.
You get enough of the old classic.
Yeah.
And you don't have to pay crazy amounts of money for a
Yeah.
used one.
It's also cool that with the DT, you can get that foot switch.
Yeah.
Where you can switch through the settings with your feet, which is handy. But it takes some real estate on your pedal board.
It does.
Yeah.
And all the way back to even that original small one, people want pedals to be the size of a pedal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. So people are always saying, oh, you made it so big, it takes up too much space. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, we should address that.
But the DT still is a very cool pedal, and I still see people like, oh, should I get the DT? Should I get the 5? And, both have their place, I think.
They do, So Steve Ice swears by a DT, use it all the time, and you can use the detune, and he uses the detune as a momentary jump, sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
So that becomes yet another thing. And we'll get, if you want to talk about Whammy family, and we could expand this to not just generations of Whammy, but touch on the drop and the Ricochet and the hammer-on and all of those sort of things.
Because the drop came out around the same time-ish, right? Is that correct?
Slightly. It was probably 6 months later, something like that. But it was all because it was really just the drop part of the Whammy DT. So it was in the works. But team-wise, we weren't doing 3, we were doing those 2, and then the drop came
and the Luxe,
after that.
that's like, is that the detune section?
Yeah. Yep.
And the, what's it called? The 12-string simulator. I forgot the name. The black one?
Now that you said that.
Mosaic.
Yeah,
Mosaic.
Mosaic.
Yeah, Mosaic.
Mosaic.
That's a cool one.
Yeah.
Because that adds a little bit of modulation, right?
It does. A little bit of modulation. It's trying to do the 12-string thing correctly, yeah.
And the Freqout came a little bit after?
That was after.
Yeah.
That was after. That was a complete separate product of what else can we do.
Yeah.
That's a good story, too.
Well, I mean, we're here now.
If you want to jump into that, the Freqout. So we're...
Oh, wait. I meant the Ricochet.
Oh,
but
Ricochet.
The Freqout is
Freqout is a different one. Yeah. Let's stick with the pitch shifters.
Okay.
So we'll stick with Ricochet. If you want to go into Freqout, that's a wonderful story, too.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. Ricochet. So it was really... The pacing was Whammy DT and Whammy 5 only a couple of months apart.
Yeah.
And then it was maybe another 5 months or so before drop hit.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ricochet was about 6 months or a year later, something like that.
Yeah.
That Ricochet came. And then Hammer-On is part of the new crew, right?
Yeah.
So let's think of the stories for those for a minute. All of these are, we try and keep good contact with people that are using our gear. If you send questions to our website, they go to the engineering team and we read them, we talk about them, we categorize, like, oh, we ought to do this. Because people that are out there using this every day, they have a lot to say, and you got to listen to it. So we do. And things like drop, in fact, things like adding the DT, the drop section to a Whammy, kind of came out of, what you should do since you're pitch shifting, and I always have to tune down, and can you do that? And you go, yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Especially as soon as we made the leap to polyphonic, and the Whammy DT did that. Oh, we can do this with chords. That's really when drop can happen. Prior to that, if you're single note, drop makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
It has to be polyphonic.
You know what's funny? Like a lot of modern multi-effects units, you can name them all. None of them can do the Whammy sound properly. I mean, they can do the pitch shifting, but none of them have the charm and the precision of the real actual Digitech Whammys. and I mean that. I've tried them all.
That's true, you know, and this isn't just us, it's all of our competitors too. We all buy each other's gear and tear it apart. What are they doing? Are they, you know, do they have the magic yet? Have they stolen this from us? Or yeah, everybody looks at each other's stuff, and I've seen all those, and I've bench tested every competitor of the Whammy too, and we're the guys still, you know, people haven't figured it out. Not that there's not sharp companies out there. There's lots. We're competitors. I think this is a neat industry because we are competitors, but we're all music tone geeks. You know, it's kind of that. In fact, there's guys that have been part of Digitech that are now part of Line 6 or Yamaha or Gibson, or, you know, I mean, because people stay in the industry, that you can both have a competing company. And to be completely honest, you are competing for dollars to fund your own team to do more products, right? So there is a competition, but just buried below the surface is we all talk and know each other and rib each other about who's got what and who's, because everybody's got their specialties. So there's a camaraderie between companies that actually it probably happens everywhere. I bet if you're worked for a car company and you're passionate about cars, so are the other people, right? So we're in music, you share a passion about that, and they're competitors, but they're also friends.
It's like healthy competition.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
All right, so we still have a couple iterations to go. We have the Bass Whammy reissue.
Yep.
Is it true that that one is also voiced a little bit differently so that it works with bass guitar, or is it just the same algorithm from the 5? Basically?
It is different.
Okay.
It is voiced for bass guitar. The tracking is a little bit different to handle bass guitar better, but there's a lot of bass guitarists that use regular whammy. Mononeon's one of them. We'll get to that because the actual regular whammy does a real good job with bass guitar. So it doesn't need it. So it is a little bit better. And if you bench test them, look, you'll see actually it does track just a little bit better for bass, but
it also has some different intervals.
That's the biggest thing.
So guitarists should not overlook that version, I think, because you know, some people might prefer the intervals that the Bass Whammy has over the normal 5, and it also looks cool, you know. Is there anything that you want to add to that Bass Whammy story?
No. I mean, it came out of the original Bass Whammy, also tweaked for guitar. You know, let's do those same tweaks.
Also blue.
And blue, so we kind of kept that lineage.
I did have one very technical question. Some people on the forums were like, yeah, the Bass Whammy seems to have a very slightly different mix blend in terms of the 50-50 or whatever it is. Is that true, or is that nonsense on the harmony side?
It may, well, that's a good question, and I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you're asking me off the top. It wouldn't take much to go look, but I would say that they're the same.
Yeah.
Because I can't think of a reason why they would want to be any different.
It's not,
if you're blending it, it should be a 50-50 blend.
If it is the case, it's not noticeable really, but it was like a thing that was on one of the forums.
Yeah, that actually might be true, and I'll look it up and see. So you get a definitive. I'll look at the code. See if it was on purpose or a mistake.
So one fun thing is that last year, Thomann released a limited black edition, which I did a video on. And hopefully many of you bought them through my affiliate links. That's a cool looking, cool special limited edition that I also think looks cool. It doesn't have the classic red look, but it's still, you know, it's the 5. And then, of course, we come to the current times, and then you released, all of a sudden, there was this Mononeon Whammy. And I was like, what is this? The colors are crazy. What are those intervals? You can see that in the separate video, but maybe you can talk a little bit about how that came about.
Yeah, let me say a little something about Black Whammy for a minute.
Okay.
And we'll do limited runs of products now and then. That was one of those, and you'll see some of those. You'll just do small runs of
Yeah.
different things now and then, kind of for the collectability, kind of just to focus on, you know, sometimes retailers are big enough that they'll come on and say they want an exclusive. We don't do many of those, but we've done them once in a while. I'll tell you one, just as a slight thing, this is back at Whammy IV, is we did a white version of a Whammy for Jack White. Yeah, he was doing a tour and just called out of the blue, just him, called the factory, called the front desk, said, this is Jack White, who do I talk to? And of course, our receptionists up front don't even know all of the players, so they were a little confused. Anyway, we got the thing routed back to us, and Jack White was asking if we would do special white one for him, and we did, that. We had our own paint department. All the production was done in Salt Lake back then, so we could do those limited runs easily. And so we gave him a white one. We actually painted 2 chassis, and I've got the other one in my office. Cool. So if you ever see a shot of my office, that's my, and I'm a big Jack White fan. So I'm not going to sell it. It's not about that. It's just like this was a period in time that we did something special for somebody cool. I care about.
I saw pictures of that one, and it looked really interesting.
So
Mononeon.
So Mononeon. So now, and this is the leap from Whammy IV to Whammy V was going to polyphonic and the classic mode to get some of the original quirkiness. Then, you know, this the corporate side, the Harman part gives way to Samsung, and Samsung, big, huge corporation, you know, they didn't have as much focus on MI in general. So a lot of the MI brands were just kind of, well, let's consolidate and simplify and all of that. And so they shut down Salt Lake, and good 5 years of time. So the Whammy V has been going for a long time, and that's because there hasn't been any engineering, because there is new things to do in the realm of whammies. But 2018, Court takes over Digitech. Not 2018. 2018 is when everything shut down. 2022 was really when we relaunched Digitech, and I've got not all of the crew, but some of the original crew back together, and we're doing all this. And we want to do something whammy. You know, we're busy doing a lot right now. You will see a lot of new Digitech product, a lot of new DoD product, bam, 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 here coming up soon. So get ready.
Awesome.
But the Mononeon thing. See, now I didn't know Mononeon. You know, I do a lot of music. I am a consumer. I still see concerts at 2 or 3 a month. Road trip to see big shows and all kinds of different things. But I didn't know Mononeon. Our marketing guy knew Mononeon. He's kind of a, here, try, you know, talk to this guy. And so we were originally going to do a Mononeon, and the original thought was, because of the Mononeon's got a look. I don't know how much of your audience knows Mononeon, but he's got a certain aesthetic look, and it was like, okay, let's just do a limited run artist color change thing. And that was the original concept from marketing.
Yeah.
Saying, oh yeah, let's do this. This could be a Mononeon edition. And so, okay, yeah, we should do that. That'll be okay. But it kept bugging me, and not just me. It was me and the team going, come on, we're the relaunched Digitech. We got to do something new. It's got to be more than just a paint job.
Yeah.
And so I took that one on myself. I was like, well, let's add, what can we add? And so the original spec was just colors and look and all of that. It was going to be a little more limited run, and now it's not, because now it's a legitimate. It's not quite what you would call Whammy 6, but it's got like 5 brand new things in it.
Yeah.
And that was me on Saturdays. So a couple of different Saturdays, I came in and I came in, put on Audio Slave, started with the first Audio Slave album all the way through, and just like, I'm going to code something different. And you'd think, oh, it can go 2 octaves. Let's make it go 3 octaves. How hard can that be? Well, it's actually quite hard, because you have half the amount of time to do everything you needed to do, because it's shifting so quickly that you got to splice quicker and all this. So the simple do it broke it right away, and everything was broken, not working. And it's like, oh, should I just back off and shelf that and let's just do colors? Like, no, we're going to figure this out. So had to change a bunch of the DSP around to get it to work right, got it going. And now we've got 3 octaves up, and we were in my notes on it. I called it dog whistle. That was my, because it would take guitar up to where you couldn't even hear it anymore, right?
Yeah.
But that over the top special effectiveness it's Tom Morello, really. I mean, this is Mononeon, but in my mind, I was listening to Tom Morello the whole time. Thinking, you want extreme? Here, try this. This will be fun. So, but the other thing is, Mononeon is a bass player. So it was like, you know what? How about if a bass player can do Tom Morello solos? That would be cool.
Cool, yeah.
So that was the thing, is now a bass player can go way up and track Tom Morello solos if they want. And then the other thing is, for a bass guitar, and like you were saying, Bass Whammy has different selections of stuff. One of the things that's really nice, there's always been a setting, at least for a while, that is your dry guitar octave down to octave up, right? So but it's with the dry guitar. The nice thing about that is it works with chords.
Yeah.
All the other intervals work for some chords and don't work for other chords. Well, we're polyphonic now, so let's expand the things that work for chords. So I wanted to take the side that's the harmony side and expand it into things that work, because most of that harmony side doesn't work for chord playing. It's all solo. So so that's where I added, octave. So I added. Kept the octave, it's dry plus octave down to octave up, but I added dry 2 octaves down to 1 octave down, and then 1 octave up to 2 octaves up. And those were all additional things. And I took a few, and I hope I didn't take your favorite setting out, but I took a few things out of that harmony side to make room for that.
Yeah, some of the ones are really like quirky, like some with the 6th up to the 7th or something.
They seem quirky, but if you're a country player, you're going, oh, that's my pedal steel. That's it.
Like
there's some of those
like
that they are important. That's right.
Thing.
There's certain things that it's like, oh, that's exactly what I want. So I did take the liberty to pull a couple of things out. And the other thing is, we had a detuner in there, and this is personal opinion, because I always thought our deep detune was too deep and our shallow detune was too shallow. So I needed the space. So I said, well, let's just do one right in the middle. And it's not exactly in the middle, but I kind of found what I consider a sweet spot, and I made a single detune from there.
Sounds really good.
Oh, thanks.
I think we have to wrap up soon, but maybe you can quickly touch on the hammer-on. Just how that came about. Yeah,
let me do one quick thing on Ricochet first. Ricochet was because a lot of people, if you're using a whammy just as an octave up, and you always do kind of that same speed, instead of having the expression pedal, you can just have a button, have it do the ballistics of the how fast to go down and how fast to release. So that's where the Ricochet came from. And that all of a sudden we have a whammy pedal that fits. People saying it's too big. Well, go get the go get the Ricochet, because
Yeah.
that'll fit same size as a regular thing, and you can get all the pitch bend stuff. You just have to pre-program what you would do with the expression pedal. Okay, so that's Ricochet. So we did Ricochet, drop, and drop, by the way, because of polyphonic and drop, it has worked its way into everybody's pedal board. It is, it's probably, like I say, I go to a lot of concerts. That's the one I see again and again and again, because it solves a problem. People don't want to switch guitars to do a drop tune thing. It's like they want that.
Yes.
So that's the Whammy family. So Whammy went from single pedal to family right around Whammy V, and that's because of the polyphonic stuff.
Yeah.
Now, to wrap it up, the new crew, we wanted to do something, and this is what turned into be Hammer-On. And that was actually a version of that product was in the works at the same time as the Ricochet. But it didn't, you only have limited resources, the kind of like jump sort of stuff. We set that aside and didn't do anything. So with the new crew, it's like, oh, we got to go back to the Whammy and we got to do the Hammer-On, So we started, what does it do? Well, it does a Hammer-On effect, and go, well, there's the name. Whammy's the name, Hammer-On's the name, Drop's the name. These are very straightforward, tell you what the pedal does names. And so, but we expanded it out. So instead of, because if you're going to hammer on, quite often you have a couple of different notes you're going to hammer on. So we added a second expression pedal. So first Whammy pedal to have two foot switches.
Yeah.
And so, so you can jump to one note or you can jump to another note, fully programmable. And then, like the new team is, we just couldn't stop there. So we started playing around with other ideas. And so that impossible mode that's in there is something, and this is actually part of the Whammy lineage too, is we did a product called iStomp. And iStomp, you could download pedals in there. And we did a Whammy family artist thing with Adrian Ballou called the Impossible pedal in the iStomp. And I wanted to bring that back. I'm a fan of iStomp. I know it gets kind of mixed reviews for different things. I would love to debate iStomp stuff because it solves some fundamental problems. But that iStomp that had the Impossible pedal in it, I thought, got to bring that back. So, added that, and the impossible mode. First time you push the switch, it jumps to one note, and then you let go. And then the second time you push it, it jumps to a different note. So you can do. And Adrian Ballou has used that in a lot of different recordings. It's just very melodic to jump between the two as you're working on solos. So.
Very cool.
So we brought that back, and then we added sequencing, and the sequencing was and is, I think, the most revolutionary part of that product, because it opens up. Keyboard players have had sequencers forever.
Mm-hmm.
That goes all the way back to Bob O'Reilly or something. I mean, that's that. And a guitar player was never invited to that party until now. And so you go in and you can set up a sequence of, you press it and it will automatically sequence through different amounts of pitch shifting for your guitar. That opens up a whole new world. And anybody I've shown a Hammer-On to just goes, oh, that's musical, and it spurs ideas.
Yeah. I need to get that pedal into my studio so I can do some videos with it.
I've got two of them here. You should try it.
Awesome.
You should try it. Yeah,
it sounds like fun.
It's fun. It's a deep pedal. There's if you use it on its surface as just two different Hammer-Ons, that's enough.
Yeah.
But it has a lot of other stuff to goof around with.
Well, we've been talking for, almost an hour, but I could go on for hours because I'm a geek. I love this stuff. But thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about all this.
It's great to talk to you. I love talking product. Anytime you want to do another interview, we should do it.
Great. And I'm excited for what is to come in the future.
And if you ever end up in Salt Lake City, come by. I'll show you the new digs and what we're doing.
Cool.
I have to hide a few things when you come in, but
all right.
Drop by and see us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you all for watching. We're at 42 Gear Street in Germany. Thanks to Henning Pauli for organizing this event. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'd love to know your thoughts on the Whammy. Which is your favorite one? Do you have any suggestions for the Digitech folk? Do you have any questions? Just let me know. Also hit the like and subscribe buttons, of course. And if you want to buy something like a Digitech Whammy or another pedal like the Hammer-On, please use my affiliate links. That really helps out the channel. I hope to see you guys very soon.
Cool.
Cheers.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.